What if your company wasn't just run by people, but by highly advanced autonomous AI?
Sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it?
It really does. But the reality is this future isn't that far off. It's already, knocking at the boardroom door.
Mm.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really groundbreaking prototype model. It's from A.S. Romanova at the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology.
Mm.
And this isn't just about making AI, like, super efficient. It's about building the ability to make legitimate and ethical decisions right into the DNA of these systems when they manage corporations.
Right. The speed at which AI is being implemented in companies is, well, it's undeniable. But the foundational ethical frameworks, the legal ones, they're still playing catch up, very much so.
Yeah.
Romanova's work gives us a really concrete blueprint for bridging that critical gap.
Exactly. So our mission today is basically to give you a shortcut, a way to understand the cutting edge of AI and corporate governance. We'll unpack the fascinating challenges, but also the innovative solutions this research proposes for building genuinely responsible AI leadership. Okay, so let's zero in on the core challenge here.
Let's do it.
Companies are already using AI in really significant ways. We're talking AI-powered command centers, complex virtual systems.
Even humanoid robots starting to take on management roles.
Right. But here's the kicker, the groundwork, the methodological, regulatory, legislative stuff. For these systems to make decisions that are actually legitimate and ethical, it's largely missing.
And just think about the power these systems have without a clear ethical blueprint. The potential for unintended consequences, social, legal, economic, huge. So the question becomes, how can we possibly trust an AI with critical corporate decisions if we haven't first defined what right and wrong even mean for a machine in a language it gets?
Right. Exactly. And that's the void this prototype model is aiming to fill. Which brings us neatly to the Romanova prototype model itself.
Yes.
And this isn't just, theory. It's an open source model designed to actually help with the industrial rollout of these autonomous corporate management systems. It gives a whole framework for development and evaluation.
What makes it really stand out, I think, is the integrated approach. It's not just one thing.
No.
It weaves together several critical pieces: computational law, a specific operational context for the AI, controlled generation of synthetic data, game theory for strategy, plus explainable AI and machine learning, all into one system.
Wow.
So it's not piecemeal. It's more like a whole ecosystem for AI governance.
Okay, that's where it gets really interesting. It sounds like it lays out a seamless process from raw data right through to the final management decision.
Precisely. And crucially, it provides the tools to justify every intermediate step and the final choice too. You can picture it as a continuous flow. Load the rules, the computational law and operational context, then validate and add to the data, calculate the best strategy, make the decision, and then importantly, present and explain that decision.
It's like building an ethical operating system right into the AI's core, isn't it?
That's a great way to put it.
So the journey starts with the first big pillar, computational law.
Right.
This is about translating those complex legal and ethical ideas into algorithms.
Basically, rules the AI can actually follow automatically, turning data into legal conclusions.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah.
Moving beyond sort of vague human language definitions to a mathematical structure the AI can interpret without ambiguity. But, and this is a big but, it's far from simple.
How so?
Well, take concepts like fairness or non-discrimination. They seem clear to us, right? But defining them mathematically is incredibly tough. Different metrics can give you wildly different results. The EU directive on equal treatment in employment. How do you mathematically define any discrimination so an AI can enforce it? It's tricky. And we've seen this go wrong in the real world, haven't we? Like the Amazon hiring tool.
Oh, absolutely. That's a classic example. They developed an AI tool, trained it on historical hiring data.
Which was mostly male-dominated.
Exactly. And surprise, surprise, the AI showed a distinct bias against women. Despite a lot of investment, they had to scrap the project.
It just shows how bias gets baked into historical data and how hard it is to actually program non-discrimination.
Or think about the COMPASS system for predicting recidivism. That sparked a huge public debate. Which fairness metric was the right one? Even the experts couldn't agree.
Right.
So Romanova's model approaches this by first trying to define a hierarchy of metrics and acceptable ranges for things like non-discrimination. But for more complex stuff, like spotting sophisticated fraud, it leans on the other modules, the specific operational context and controlled synthetic data.
Okay. So for you listening, it means Building an AI's ethical compass isn't just telling it, be fair. You literally have to program what fairness is in a quantifiable, machine-readable way. It's much harder than it sounds. But even a perfect universal rulebook isn't the whole story, right? Because every company is different.
Absolutely. Different cultures, strategies, goals.
Yeah.
What's right for company A might be totally wrong for company B.
Which brings us to the second critical component, setting up a dedicated operational context for the AI.
Yes, this module is really about giving the AI its own defined space, its own sandbox to play in.
A sandbox?
Yeah. Think about how human boards work. They have corporate governance codes, often with a comply or explain rule. Well, AI systems need their own internal policies and procedures too, kind of like soft laws just for the AI. These define its operating principles. For example, what does fairness mean in this specific company? What data is it okay for the AI to use for this decision?
And not having that clear context, that can lead to problems. Think of the Sophia robot incident.
Oh, definitely. That vividly showed the dangers. When Sophia was granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia, it suddenly put her in the same cultural and legal box as a human. Without clear rules of engagement for a non-human entity, especially somewhere culturally complex, you get unpredictable social fallout.
Yikes.
So the model's approach here is to implement these company-specific rules as reference guides for the AI.
Like an internal manual.
Exactly. And they're not set in stone. They can be updated as the business changes or learns from experience. So a company might set specific ethical metric levels for its AI, or say, okay, you can only use these approved large language models for generating synthetic data.
Yep.
Or in a really complex case, like trying to detect Enron-style fraud, the company could explicitly define how much oversight power the AI has over top managers, all within its dedicated context.
So you can think of this as the company setting its internal rules of engagement for the AI, translating its values and strategies into machine-readable instructions, making sure the AI fits that organization.
Precisely. It ensures alignment.
Okay, this leads us really nicely into a crucial innovation in the model. Controlled generation of synthetic data.
Yes, this is a really interesting part.
Because the problem with just using historical data, especially for social things, like law and ethics, it's always biased, right?
Always. And if you just use it blindly, you risk perpetuating those old, inefficient social mechanisms, maybe even discrimination. Deborah Hellman's work highlighted this, how big data and machine learning could end up making the past have an even stronger grip on the future.
Which is kind of the opposite of what you want AI to do.
Exactly. This represents a profound shift, moving beyond just feeding the AI what was to actively shaping what should be. Even really advanced models, like Google's Gemma 2, designed with responsible AI toolkits, still generated synthetic data showing historical gender biases, suggesting lower-level jobs for women.
Wow, even the advanced ones.
It shows that just generating data isn't enough. The bias can still creep in or be carried over.
And that's a huge point. It gets even more worrying. You mentioned Gemma also failed to spot instructions for manipulating financial statements, like the Enron fraud, as being harmful.
That's right. Despite being designed to reduce unsafe outputs, it had this critical ethical blind spot. Financial manipulation wasn't flagged as harmful.
Okay, so that highlights the need for something more controlled.
Precisely. The Romanova model's innovation is its controlled generation of synthetic data. It acknowledges that social systems are, well, artificial. Humans constantly use synthetic data generated in our brains to weigh decisions. AI can do the same.
Okay.
By actively shaping this synthetic data, the model aims to fix the flaws in historical data and train the AI to act more effectively, legitimately, and ethically.
This sounds genuinely transformative. Instead of just learning from our, let's face it, flawed past, AI can be taught to imagine a better, more ethical future using intelligently designed synthetic data. So the model suggests using this to actively fight historical gender bias in board appointments, for example, to promote real diversity.
Yes, or targeting the synthetic data generation to spot and prevent those complex, unethical management decisions like financial manipulation that historical data might miss or even implicitly endorse.
It's like a tool for breaking those cycles of bias and actively training the AI for better ethical outcomes.
It's a very powerful concept.
Okay, so the AI has its rules, its operational context, and this carefully crafted data. How does it actually decide what to do?
Right. That brings us to strategy calculation and decision-making.
Game theory comes in here, I gather.
It does. Autonomous AI needs a strategy to reach its goals. Game theory provides the mathematical toolkit for figuring out effective strategies and making decisions under uncertainty.
What's really compelling here is that the AI isn't just guessing. It's using this robust mathematical framework to calculate the best, most ethical path forward.
To do that, it builds what's called a payoff matrix.
Okay, break that down.
Imagine a grid. Down one side are all the possible management decisions the AI could make. Across the top are different possible states of the world or outcomes. For each intersection, each decision combined with each outcome, the AI assigns a payoff. In this model, it's simplified. 1 if the decision is legitimate and ethical in that scenario, -1 if it's not.
So it's quantifying the ethics of each potential choice.
Exactly. It's mapping the ethical landscape for every strategic option.
And for you listening, this means the AI is designed to be pretty cautious, ethically speaking. It always tries for the most robust, legitimate outcome.
Yes, the model uses something called Wald's Maximin criterion.
Wald's Maximin.
Think of it like a very careful investor. They always look at the worst possible outcome for each investment.
Right.
And then choose the investment where the worst outcome is still the best among all the worst options. They maximize the minimum payoff.
Ah, okay. So the AI assumes the worst will happen, ethically speaking.
In a sense, yes. It chooses the strategy that guarantees the most ethically sound decision, even if other options might offer a slightly better financial payoff in a perfect world scenario. It prioritizes legitimacy and ethics.
Which raises a really interesting question. Could an AI, using a strict rule like that, avoiding human biases, actually end up being more ethical in its decisions than a human manager might be?
It's a fascinating thought. The scenarios in the paper show the AI calculating a strategy to improve data fairness to boost gender diversity on the board, linking it to real benefits like lower risk and better performance, or deciding it needs to do extra checks to prevent financial manipulation, directly learning from, say, the failures of human oversight in the Enron case.
So it's literally calculating for a more legitimate, ethical corporate world.
Yeah.
Trying to sidestep human failings by its very design.
That's the aim.
Okay, finally we get to a part that's absolutely crucial for actually using this. Presentation and communication.
Yes, essential for adoption and trust.
Because if an AI is making these big calls, it absolutely has to show its work, right? Demonstrate that its choices are logical, legitimate, ethical.
Couldn't agree more. It's fundamental for accountability. For users to trust and use an AI system, they need clear explanations tailored to them and how they're interacting with it.
And the model considers different ways it might communicate.
It does. It identifies 2 main interface types. You've got your digital dashboards, great for showing data, visualizing the whole decision process from start to finish.
Okay.
And then you have anthropomorphic interfaces, things like virtual agents, or even humanoid robots, like that robot CEO Mika. These are designed more for direct communication.
Right. So you could literally ask your AI CEO, why did you make that call?
Exactly. And this module is about how the system explains its logic. For those anthropomorphic interfaces, the model uses that familiar comply or explain idea.
Oh, okay.
If the AI does something unusual or complex, it has to clearly explain why. For the dashboards, though, you can generate much more detailed, data-heavy explanations.
Which makes sense. But how much explanation is enough for people to really get it and trust the AI's judgment? That seems like a key question.
It absolutely is. The model stresses flexibility here. Companies can choose to add audio explanations or maybe combine a dashboard display with an anthropomorphic agent. And crucially, the AI also has to be able to generate formal, legally required reports about its decisions. It needs to fit into the existing corporate and regulatory world.
Got it. Okay, so let's recap then. We've done a deep dive into Romanova's prototype model for ethical and legitimate AI in corporate governance. We've looked at how computational law, dedicated operational contexts, controlled synthetic data, game theory, and explainable AI are all coming together. Converging to potentially reshape the future of business leadership.
And what this research really underscores is that as business gets more and more data-driven, our old ways of thinking about governance just aren't enough anymore.
We don't just need algorithmic decisions.
We need robust algorithmic laws and ethics to guide them. It's a fundamental shift.
And this integration of AI into leadership, it's not some far-off sci-fi concept. It's happening now, and it's accelerating.
It really is.
So for you listening, as companies lean more on these autonomous systems, how does our idea of what makes a good leader change? What new responsibilities do we have to make sure these digital leaders actually reflect our highest ethical ideals?
That's the critical question.
And maybe the most provocative thought to leave you with. What could an AI-managed company actually achieve if it were freed from human biases, but remained fully transparent and accountable? What new heights could it reach?
A lot to ponder there, definitely.